Our meeting to order, it's July 16th, 2013. We'll ask everyone to rise and salute the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Pullen, call the roll, please.
Mr. Galloway, Mr. Snipes.
Here.
Mr. Harvey.
Here.
Mr. Dent.
Here.
Mr. Rocco.
Okay, Mr. Galloway, Mr. Rocco both had family vacations, so they're unable to be here this evening. We're going to start with with public comment. As you see, we have a pretty packed agenda this evening. First name on the list, Roland Kinney.
Roland Kenny, Falls Township. First, I want to say happy birthday to my daughter. 50 years ago, she was born today, Rosemary Soulsby. I was asked not to say things I was going to say. Like that flag in back of you. I can remember when Congressman Fitzpatrick gave it to the board, put up. And then there's some words in there we say every time I come here, under God. Thing like that. And I can't stand to see people destroy that flag the way they're doing in this United States. No problem. It's turning out that they want this country to. You know, I think I'm going to stop. My wife asked me not to say too much. I have plenty to say, but Benghazi, 10 months ago, we'll never get the answer out of there. And I hope the persons that's writing books about that place take some of the money and give it to the widows of them two Navy SEALs. They're the only brave souls that we had in this country that went to try to save them guys. Good night. God bless you.
Okay.
You were truly.
Andrew Dell.
I'll let it go.
Edgar Latuma.
He's losing it. Wrong. He's got like very little brain matter left.
Good evening.
Evening.
To my first Township for 27 years. I think so 2-3 months ago, I was here and asking about sidewalk on South Olds Boulevard between Dion Square and South Way by Cabrini. I want to see if you guys talked anything about that. There's a lot of traffic there, a lot of kids walk around there. Sidewalks on is on one side, the left side we don't have sidewalks there. I want to see if you're going to do something about that. We have sidewalks all over, and we don't have in that part.
Right.
It's not too long.
We did talk about it. I had almost immediately after that we tried to figure out if it was our property or state property, or who had the right-of-way property. Well, I mean, obviously we didn't budget for putting sidewalks in there. It's not we could always look to do it next year's budget. We'd have to take a look again to see if it was our property or not. Yeah, we have to confirm that again. So I think I remember Mr. Arneo saying we cut it, so it must be ours. We usually don't cut things that are on our property. But obviously we'd have to get our traffic engineer to go out and take a look and just see, or one of our engineers to go out and take a look and see how much area we're covering. But no, it was a good suggestion. But you're right. It's been a couple months, and we did look at it, and I kind of forget where we left it. So. Yeah.
The second, I want to say thank you that the fantastic job on the soccer fields and Falls Township looks nice. I want to see for next year, planning to do budget for another, like this year we didn't have any budget, but I asked last time, you say maybe next year you're going to consider us to do something. That way we can do another 2 fields. So I want to know if you guys can do something about that too. The fields look fantastic now. Yeah. They're very nice. They did a very good job. And the kids now in the fall, we're going to start using that fields. They're going to be very happy. It's a lot of kids. I told you they play 400, 500, 600 kids spring and the fall. And all the time you're there.
Right.
Okay, I just want to let you know that, see if you can consider for next year's budget, okay?
Yeah, definitely. It's something we're looking at. We're starting to get budget information in now and trying to figure out, where our priority is going to be. So it may be a tight budget next year. We're getting some not so good information coming in from different sources. So we'll have to see.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Yep. Lois Lambing?
Hi, I'm Lois Lambing, Secretary of the Park Board. These are fellow Park and Recreation members.
Lindsay Kelly. Quinn Kelly.
John Persica.
We're here tonight because the members of the Falls Township Board of Park and Recreation want to express the need for a community center in our township. The community center was part of the original Park and Recreation's long-range plan back in the 90s during the time that the community park idea was generated. Long before the boat ramp and dog park, but we've all come to enjoy those benefits in our community. Currently, there's not a centralized location that has the capacity to facilitate the community-centered activities or programs the Park and Recreation Department would like to provide. At present, no location exists that can host many of the successful ongoing programs that we have without worrying about the weather. On numerous occasions, many of the well-attended events such as the Bunny Breakfast, annual Children's Halloween Party, the annual holiday tree lighting held at the Three Arches have had to be canceled due to inclement weather. A lot of money has been wasted due to canceling these events, and many volunteers discouraged that the preparations and time put into the event never came to fruition. When planning programs for the community, we're often at the mercy of other organizations. Utilizing the schools has become limited. If Falls Township had a community center, they would be in the position to generate revenue and offset costs by renting out a space. A community center would offer all members of the community a place to come together. When families consider moving to a new area, they look for recreational opportunities. We lack a community center, which other very successful communities have. It offers a place for teens to gather safely, promotes intergenerational activities, and will foster more family-oriented programs. We can no longer count on the school district to meet the needs of our families. Falls is a prosperous township which is in the position to offer such a facility for its residents. The township has done a terrific job in meeting the outdoor and physical needs of its community through its many parks and playgrounds, the rehabilitation of the soccer fields, and the addition of many baseball fields. The boat ramp also allows for another specific type of recreation. The Park Board would like the Board of Supervisors to consider a community center that will meet the other needs of its residents. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things, obviously, with the plans for the new building, we are looking at space. I know Mr. Reese is involved in that, looking at ideas of space there. I'm not sure. I guess one of the things I'd have to ask, other board members might have questions too, is, and if you don't have an answer now, that's fine. I mean,
Sure.
Something that the board can look, your board can look at over the next, however long you want to take. Specifically, what kinds of programs, what kind of space in terms of size, what do you want that space to be able to do? I mean, in terms of different kinds of events, would you need a certain space oriented in a certain way? Those are all
Multifunctional, certainly,
right.
with kitchen area, a huge multi-purpose room that could be used with a stage or a gym space. They're just, especially when we have like the tent at the Three Arches community, and I know I've seen you at a couple of our events, it's crowded, it's rained out, you can't depend on a tent to hold 300-400 people at a time. That's how many people we get in general coming to our events, and that's a small number. I know more people would come if we had the ability to host more activities. Things like we have the yoga. Well, we have to wait for a room upstairs in the evening on Monday nights for yoga to enter. And then at the same time, times are limited for that. So we don't offer as many programs as people have offered to run programs, knitting club, different things. But there just isn't space for any of that kind of indoor activity.
okay.
The new building plans, and I'd be happy to come to your next park meeting and show you the plans. I'm not sure the exact area now, but it does provide a nice, very large, dividable, multi-purpose room with a kitchen and some other space, several rooms actually. So we did take a lot of that into consideration with the plans for the new building.
But it's certain, I mean, it's certainly something we can look at.
Right.
If you want to put together some kind of like specific outline of what you're looking for, and that's something we can certainly work with.
Yep. We have been working on that over the
Okay.
past couple of years, during our park meetings, so
Yeah. I mean,
we do have a good outline.
we know that the issue has come up before in terms of looking at getting a space like that. I mean, there's been talk of the old Pathmark building, of getting that space and doing something with it. But and it was something we thought of, having areas for some programming for Park and Rec here with the new building. Even when before TOFA took over the old Sears Hardware, that was something. It was a building that there was some thought of looking at that.
They have some empty space there, right?
Yeah, they do have actually some empty space there.
We have run through a lot of different ideas. The old Saturn building being right behind von Hoffman Park, we thought that would, be easily accessible to the park.
Yeah, but I think that's actually in the process of being bought, if not already bought.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, all right, okay. Well, thank you for coming. Oh, go,
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, I was
I'm
just going to
sorry.
ask, how will we concretely follow up on this?
I'm going to go to their next meeting and follow up, show them our plans for the building and get some ideas.
It'll be September. We don't have a meeting in August. So the first Monday after Labor Day.
Well, it'd be the second
Right,
Monday.
so the
then.
Monday after Labor Day. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
It's the ninth.
9th. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, those are all the residents, all the people from, on the resident sign-in sheet. There are a couple of names on the non-resident sign-in sheet. Are there any other residents who wish to speak? Mr. Mariani?
It's gonna be a long night.
You have a lengthy agenda, so I'll be brief. I want to clarify some of the statements I made at the last meeting concerning the linking of pavements, so on and so forth, that I think were misconstrued by the board. When I said there are no warm paths indicating substantial pedestrian traffic, I meant the length of New Falls Road, not a small area or any erosion caused by drainage. Now, there are no recreational areas or development that does or would generate a large volume of pedestrian traffic. You spoke about 2 ice cream parlors, and I don't see them creating large pedestrian traffic, if any at all. The athletic fields you pointed out are not on New Falls Road, Mr. Chairman. There is an entrance and an exit to those fields that is on New Falls Road, and that's a parking lot used by motorized vehicles. There's no pedestrian traffic going in and out of that. That's a parking lot, and I don't see any pedestrians using that. You mentioned Thornridge Shopping Center, but that isn't frequented by pedestrians. You could sit there all day, you could sit there all week, and count the number of pedestrians that frequent Thornridge Shopping Center. You're going to get a 0. The discussion during the Learning Center, which I was very, very much in favor of, revolved around a traffic study. The concern was auto traffic, drop-off, pickup, turnaround, and parking. Pedestrian traffic for this new project coming up was never a topic. Now, when I mentioned a scarcity of population, I didn't refer to the lack of residents in Vermilion Hills or Thornridge. What I meant was the number of residents who use New Falls Road as pedestrians. There is a scarcity of them, pedestrians that is. You spoke about, going through Vermilion Hills, and you said, well, there's nothing parallel there. I live in Thornridge. You can walk from Penn Valley Road through Thornridge to Tayburn Road. You don't have to walk on New Falls Road to do that. And so I still firmly believe that putting pavements there, we're going back to May 2011, that the objective of this plan is to, I believe, with all my heart, you can maybe sway me from this, manufacturing a reason to eventually put pavements on both sides of New Falls Road. I see that coming, as a result of this. So I think that's going to exceed a cost of $1 million easily. I would ask you not to put these curbs or these pavements on New Falls Road. I think it's a bad idea. I think you're going to encourage people to do the wrong thing. Motorized road, no one should be walking on there. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other residents before we move to non-residents? No? Okay. 2 names on the non-resident sign-in sheet. Bob Stone? No? Okay. Brandon Benjamin, Bentram? Bentram? Bentram.
Good evening. I want to give up my first minute here, maybe just to recognize all the firefighters that we have in the room. I was a volunteer firefighter for almost a decade. A while ago, I got out of it. The amount of sacrifice that they put out there, their personal time and lives, is monumental, and just God bless you all for doing that. And also thank you guys for your public service, serving in a public office. That's not an easy task. My name is Brandon Bentram. I'm a representative of Concerned Gun Owners of Pennsylvania. I'm here regarding the gun buyback that was reported that your township was considering. We did send public statements to all of you. Did you receive them? Mm-hmm. Okay. I wasn't sure where you guys were with this, but I did bring our public statement here. I'm willing to read it, or if you'd prefer in the interest of time, because it seems like you're quite busy, I'm happy to just submit it as well. But I represent hundreds of gun owners across Pennsylvania, and we started as Concerned Gun Owners of Bucks County, so obviously we have a large center base of our membership here, including in Falls Township, and I'm here on behalf of those members to urge you to consider not going forward with this government gun collection point. It's misuse of public funds, and it sounds like you really could use them for either our volunteer firefighters here or our Parks and Recreation Department. You've got an awful lot of needs here in this township that really should be addressed and filled, and we hope that you guys use our public tax money wisely and that of our members wisely. Would you like me to read the statement or submit it? What would you guys prefer?
You can submit it.
Okay, I'm happy to do so, and I hope that you all have a good evening and just consider this. Is there any actual movement on this right now, or do you guys know where you sit on this? Are you moving forward with it for sure, or are you still researching it?
We are in discussion just amongst ourselves and working with our police department, and they're working with another community, Ben Salem, to gather some information about the recent buyback that they did, and we'll probably look at this at a future meeting.
Okay, and if you need to, we can be in contact. Also, I want to just bring to your attention one last item. While you're considering this, there was a recent White House directive that they wanted the CDC to release a study of firearms in relation to violence. And in their report, which wasn't reported on very widely, so I would understand if it didn't come across your desks, they actually found that exactly the type of program that you guys are considering is ineffective, based on previous studies, and if you'd like to, I'd be more than happy to send that information on to you, but it looks like it just would be a little bit of a waste of time, police officers, and money here.
Okay.
So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Okay, those are all the names. Any other non-residents?
Thank you.
Wish to speak? No? Okay. All right, item 2 on our agenda is consider application for transfer of a liquor license to the Fair Souls Volunteer Fire Department. With transfers of liquor licenses, we have to have a public hearing, which is required by state law. Communities are, based on population, allowed to have a certain number of liquor licenses. When you exceed the certain amount based on your population, the ratio that's provided by the state, then especially any transfer of a license from one entity to another has to have a hearing like this. Mr. Clark, you want to walk us through that, or should we start by?
We need a motion to open the hearing.
All right, motion to open the hearing for the transfer of a liquor license.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a public hearing for an intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license. The applicant is the Fairless Hills Fire Company. The property which is the subject of this hearing is the applicant's facility at 417 Hood Boulevard in Falls Township. The hearing is being held for the purposes of receiving comments and recommendations of interested individuals residing within the municipality concerning the applicant's intent to transfer a liquor license into Falls Township. This application was submitted by Cliff Bidlingmeyer Esquire of Cardos, Rickles, Bidlingmeyer, and Bidlingmeyer, and was submitted on June 10, 2013. An additional documentation was submitted on June 20th, 2013. The Pennsylvania Liquor Code requires that the township render a decision within 45 days of the submission of a complete application, or in the alternative, within an additional 60 days at the township's election with written notice of the applicant. We have reviewed the application and found it to be substantially complete. The Pennsylvania Liquor Code sets forth certain mandatory provisions with respect to processing applications for intermunicipal transfers of liquor licenses. Section 4-461B3 of the Liquor Code provides that an intermunicipal transfer of a license must first be approved by the governing body of the receiving municipality when the total number of existing restaurant liquor licenses and eating place retail dispenser licenses in the receiving municipality equals or exceeds one license per 3,000 inhabitants. Section 4-461B3 further states that upon request for an intermunicipal transfer, at least one public hearing shall be held by the municipal governing body for the purpose of receiving comments and recommendations of interested individuals residing within the municipality concerning the applicant's intent to transfer a liquor license into the municipality. We have contacted the quoted department of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. They have confirmed that Falls Township has in excess of one license per 3,000 residents. Accordingly, the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board may not approve a new license until the township first holds a public hearing and approves the intermunicipal transfer application. The township is required to render its decision by resolution or ordinance, and we have provided for the board this evening a copy of a resolution approving the transfer and a copy of a resolution denying the transfer. The application has been advertised consistent with the Liquor Code on July 2nd, 2013, and again on July 9th, 2013 in the Courier Times. The applicant is represented this evening by Mark Rickles, Esquire. Mr. Rickles, you will now have the opportunity to present the application, any information or any evidence you would like, and any testimony you would like, and then you will make yourself and any of your witnesses available for questions from members of the board and any members of the public who request party status. Do you understand the process, Mr. Rickles?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Rickles, the application that has previously been submitted will be marked as A1 for applicant 1, and if you have any other exhibits that you wish to submit, they will be listed as A2. Mr. Rickles, it's my understanding that you have submitted a list of all properties from the County Recorder of Deeds that are within 1/4 mile of the subject premises and certified to the board that the notice attached to the application was mailed to each address listed on A1. Is that correct?
That is correct, and those notices were sent out on or before July 3rd, 2013 by regular mail.
And you may proceed with your presentation, Mr. Rickles.
Okay, if I may. Mark Rickles from Cardos, Rickles, Bidlingmeyer, and Bidlingmeyer, representing the Fairless Hills Volunteer Fire Department. You have our application. I have with me Joe and Tony Montenario, representing the fire company. They would just so everybody knows, this is a club catering license that is we're seeking approval of on the resolution. It's as you know, approximately 35% of the operating budget of the Fairless Hills Volunteer Fire Department is through, tax monies from the public and is given to the fire department to help operate its budget. And the other 65% is through fundraising, and that's generated by the fire company. As you know, the fire company has a catering hall, and it would be obviously a benefit to the fundraising of the fire company if they were able to have a club catering license, and in which case they can sell alcoholic beverages at these, at the affairs that they cater. The, all affairs, the gentleman with me, the Montanarios, can verify from their long standing with the fire company that all the affairs that are held at the fire company conclude by midnight, and there is no outside catering facilities. That's all I have to present. I can ask the Joseph and Anthony Montanario if his presentation's been accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes.
And we're open for any questions or comments by you members of the board or the public.
Okay. All right. I'll go to board comments and questions first. Mr. Snipes.
So maybe you guys could just give us a few pros and cons about, not cons, obviously pros from your perspective about why you want to do this and why it's good for the fire company and good for the community.
If you could just identify yourself, please.
Tony Montanario, Assistant Chief, Fairless Hills Fire Department. You know, obviously, like Mr. Rickles has said, that our operating budget, exceeds, what is allocated by tax dollars, and this would definitely help out a lot. Keep up with the equipment, maintenance of the building. We have a pretty lengthy list of to-do list for renovations to the inside of the hall, and that type of stuff is generally what we look for in fundraising activities and stuff like that, and it definitely helps out if we can get all the help we can get.
Do you have some events that now you are not able to host because you don't have the club catering license? Or obviously you don't get as much income. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that we can't do. Obviously, as it sits right now, no. I mean, I can't think of anything we can't do. But obviously, the liquor that we do serve is brought in by who rent the hall.
Right.
So, that we don't sell it. We just disperse it.
Right.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
So like you said, you serve liquor now, but you're just not providing it. It's brought in from whoever's...
It's brought in from the outside.
This is just a good way to make money.
Whoever the renter,
Right.
whoever's renting the hall brings it, and they allow us to serve it.
Yeah. No, I have nothing else.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is very straightforward. I just want to make sure you're aware there was a letter that we received from whoever it is that owns a shopping center across the street from you, talking about the Fairless Hills Volunteer Fire Department has been using our parking area when they have various events. However, it's come to our attention they're expanding. By purchasing a club liquor license, our parking lot is not to be used for the fire department's overflow parking. I don't know if you seen. You can have this one if you haven't seen it. We're trying to figure out why they would send that letter and why they would have a problem, especially that parking lot, which is big enough to house all the people from the Pentagon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. They just the only time that we're not the only people that park there. Obviously
Sure.
our client, the people that come in there
Right.
to use our hall, the pool.
Right.
Once that lot gets full, they park
They
over there.
overflow. Yeah.
So I mean, it's
Chamber of Commerce
never
probably
a
too.
problem. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very seldom.
One of the
Very seldom.
yeah, I know. I said it doesn't mean anything to us, quite frankly. I just want to make sure you guys had seen it. One of the theories we had is maybe they misunderstood what a club liquor license was, and they thought you were turning into more of like a bar, constant operation stuff. Which I don't. Well, obviously we know you're not, but it's just.
They want to give them a call. And
Yeah. We'll address it with them.
All right. I don't have any other comments or questions. Mr. Clark, any comments or questions from you?
No, I think you just clarified the one point. This is not, this is for their banquet facility. This will not be a bar that is open to the public. This won't be, that's not what this is for. This is for their catering business only, so.
That is correct. And it's obviously an enhancement of income when they can sell the alcohol rather than have it brought in.
Okay. Yeah. Refresh my memory, Mr. Clark. If we want to take public comment, do we do it before?
You ask if anyone is requesting
All right, so
party
we don't-
status,
all right.
and if you don't, then you can just close the hearing.
Does anyone wish to speak? It could be in favor or against. Seeing no hands. Is there
Close the hearing
is
and
there a
then
motion then to close
you-
the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, so, very straightforward presentation. It seems pretty simple. We have two resolutions, as Mr. Clark said, one to grant, one to deny. I'm assuming the board is interested in granting the liquor license transfer. This would be Resolution 13-14. Okay? Any final comments or questions? All right, is there a motion to approve the application for intermunicipal transfer for the Falls Township Fire Company, Falls Township, all right, into Falls Township of Falls Hills Fire Company. That's not really said right. All right. For the
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Falls Hills Fire Company, Resolution 13-14. Sorry,
Second.
guys.
I'll second it.
Something I should have spell checked that before we looked at it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on our agenda, item 3, Crown Castle, excuse me, conditional use application 275 Lincoln Highway. Mr. Gray?
Yes, as mentioned, this is for Crown Castle. They are located at 275 Lincoln Highway. Purpose of this request is to co-locate one 9-foot whip antenna on an existing guide tower.
Okay, and this is the very large, the largest antenna in the area, pretty much, if any, as anybody has ever seen, right down the street here on Lincoln Highway. And already has a number of antenna on it. Mr. Crusay, you're, give your, oh,
Again,
sorry,
you
we had to
open the
open up
hearing.
time,
Yes.
Sorry.
We haven't done these for a while. This
Yeah.
has been some time.
It's a little rusty here, the summertime. All right, motion to open the conditional use hearing for Crown Castle International, 275 Lincoln Highway.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, Mr. Clark, you're on.
All right, thank you, sir. This is a conditional use hearing. The applicant is Crown Castle International. The property is tax parcel number 13-003-015, Township of Falls, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. This is an application requesting conditional use to co-locate one 9-foot whip antenna to be attached to the existing guide tower with equipment to be placed within an existing shelter at the tower's base located at 275 Lincoln Highway. This conditional use hearing has been properly advertised in the Courier Times on Tuesday, July 2nd, and again Tuesday, July 9th. It has been the policy of this board that when we are dealing with matters of co-location that we don't need to go through in as great detail as when we're dealing with an original application. Simply, we would ask that you introduce your exhibits. If you have any witnesses here who will testify, that you give a brief summary of what their testimony would be. You would ask your witnesses to come forward, be sworn, and just to confirm that your summary was accurate. At that time, yourself and any of your witnesses would be available for questions by the board or any members of the public. You understand the process clear?
I do.
Okay, thanks.
Prior to proceeding, I have pre-marked exhibit packets, if I may hand those out at this time.
Thank you.
Warm in here.
Thanks.
And then just, yeah.
Thank you. Nicholas Cuchet from Riley Riper here on behalf of the applicant, Crown Castle International. As Mr. Clark noted, this is a fairly straightforward co-location on a 494-foot guide tower. It is for a 9-foot whip antenna to be placed at a centerline height of 458 feet, which is clearly below the height of the
top height of the tower, so there is no extension of the tower itself or expansion of the compound. We received a recommendation of approval, for approval from the Planning Commission. We also received a review letter from the Township engineer dated June 9th, 2013. All the issues in that letter are minor, in my opinion. Mr. Sullivan could correct me if I'm wrong, but they are all will complies. Notice was sent per township requirements, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A2, which is an affidavit of service of notice, which was handed to the solicitor prior to the beginning of the hearing. I would have two witnesses this evening, our radio frequency engineer and our professional engineer. Mr. Clark, would you have me first?
Can we just give you a summary now,
Certainly.
and then ask them to come forward to be sworn and just confirm that your summary was accurate?
Certainly. My first witness would be our radio frequency engineer, Mr. Anthony Handley. He would testify to his credentials in the field of radio frequency engineering, and that he has testified in numerous municipal proceedings for telecommunications facilities, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A3, which is a copy of Mr. Handley's CV. He would testify that a lease has been executed to allow for this co-location, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A4, which is a copy of the executed lease, which has been redacted as to its financial terms. He would note that the property is improved by a facility consisting of a 494-foot guide tower with various carriers attached thereto, and equipment, and also equipment shelters contained at the base within a fenced compound. He would testify that the applicant is licensed by the FCC, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A6, which is a copy of the FCC license and accompanying documentation. He would note that this particular technology is being deployed to deliver broadcast video content and Wi-Fi to subscribers. He would note that per the FCC rules, the licensee is required to make a showing of substantial service in its license area by October 1st, 2013, or the license will revert back to the FCC. He would note that the applicant is in the process of building out this particular network. He would testify that the proposed antenna is the minimum height required to reach the applicant's coverage objective, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A7, which is a copy of the propagation map showing the propagation of signal from this particular site on air. Part of his testimony would be that the facility will comply with all applicable antenna power levels and maximum permissible human exposure, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A8, which is an EMF report prepared by Millennium Engineering, dated July 16, 2013. This report demonstrates that these levels, including the proposed antenna, will be well within the FCC standards. Lastly, he would testify that the proposal complies with all applicable state and federal regulations, and that the facility will not cause radio interference with other communications facilities, emergency services, GPS electronics, or home electronic devices such as televisions, computers, and radios. That would be the sum total of Mr. Handley's testimony. I could have Mr. Handley sworn in at this time or at the end.
Get your next witness and then bring them both up.
Certainly. My next and final witness would be our professional engineer, Ms. Sherry Weber. She would testify as to her credentials in the field of site design for telecommunications and like technologies, and that she has testified in numerous municipal proceedings for these facilities, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A9, which is a copy of Ms. Weber's CV. She would testify that the plan accurately depicts what is being proposed this evening, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A10, which is a copy of the site plan prepared by Velour, dated April 4th, 2013, last revised July 15th, 2013. The latest revision being per a typo that was pointed out at the Planning Commission meeting in terms of cable gauge. That is the only difference or revision. She would testify that this proposal is for the addition of a 9-foot whip antenna to be attached to the guide tower at a height of 458 feet. That is to the center line of the whip antenna. Equipment will be placed inside the an existing equipment shelter at the base of the tower within the fenced compound. Applicant proposes no extension of the tower or expansion of the fenced compound. Both access and parking to the site will remain the same. She would testify that she is familiar with the structural requirements and that the tower can structurally support the antenna once recommended modifications have been made, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A11, which is a structural analysis and modification drawings prepared by B&T Group, dated April 25th, 2013. There was discussion at the Planning Commission meeting. That report notes previous modifications done in, I believe, 2009, 2010, and 2013. We will submit to the township engineer the PMI or post-modification inspections for all of those previous modifications, showing proof that those modifications have been completed. She would note that the facility will be designed in accordance with all applicable safety and industry standards and will comply with all appropriate building codes. The facility will remain unmanned and will therefore not require water, sewer. It will have no impact on traffic on the property itself or surrounding roadways. It will require no continuous lighting and produce no additional noise. She would testify that there will be no increase in the height of the tower, therefore no FAA registration is required. A certificate of insurance has been issued per the township's ordinance requirements, directing the board's attention to Exhibit A12, which is a copy of the certificate of insurance. Finally, she would testify that the upgrade is in the best interest of the municipality, community, and public welfare. That would be the sum total of Ms. Weber's testimony this evening. I would ask my witnesses to come forward to be sworn in. Anthony, did you listen to my summation of your testimony?
Yes.
And would you augment any portion of that summation?
No.
And would you adopt it as your own?
Yes.
And Sherry, did you listen to my summation of your testimony?
Yes.
And would you augment any portion of that summation?
No.
And would you adopt it as your own?
Yes.
Thank you. The board has any questions?
Okay, go to board comments and questions here, and public comment, if there's any. Mr. Snipes, comments or questions?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. The question I have is, because I don't understand all the technology, obviously, you mentioned broadcast video. This antenna was being added specifically for broadcast video and for one other aspect as well, I forget.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, right.
Yeah.
Is this, so are we going to begin to see this? This is unrelated. I mean, I don't have a problem with this, but just in general, or do you think that we're going to be seeing more and more of this in terms of broadcast video and people using smartphones instead of other types of phones? Is this something that is needed for expanded capacity and is going to begin to pop up everywhere?
It's possible. I know that this particular technology does just provide Wi-Fi for your tablets. It's a way to, I don't want to say circumvent, but to allow for data services without a telecommunications provider per se.
Constant connection.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
No, I have none.
Okay. No, I think it's a pretty simple,
Straightforward.
yeah, straightforward presentation, and you obviously presented it well. I don't have any comments or questions. Mr. Clark, any comments or questions from you or Mr. Sullivan?
No.
No.
Okay. Is there any public comment or question? See one hand, Mr. Binney? Mr. Binney, just state your name, I guess, for the recorder.
Brian Binney, Chairman of the Falls Township Planning Commission. This application is for a company called Light Square, and it's my understanding that the FCC has withdrawn their support for the Light Squared process because of potential interference with GPS units. The frequency that they use or proposing to use overlaps the GPS frequency and could cause potential problems. And as recently as June 26th of this year, the FCC and Light Squared have been speaking to try and modify their proposed frequencies to use frequencies that are shared, to be shared by the NOAA. So my question is, they presented a license and they said it's valid. Is there any way for us to know that for sure? Given the fact that in my profession, I know that there's problems with this application, and it's a lot of talk in our profession about it because it's potentially a real big problem. Is there any way to verify that this, in fact, is valid license? Because that is a requirement of conditional use. And I would ask the applicant, if this was built today, would they be allowed legally to flip the switch on?
I'm not sure if it's Mr. Clark or Mr. Sullivan, if they have either one of that experience.
I think maybe this would be a question best answered by the applicant and his experts first before Mr. Sullivan or I are opine.
Okay, Mr. Couchet?
Yes, I will let our radio frequency engineer field the general questions regarding the radio frequency and interference issues. However, I can assure this board and the township that this is a valid operating FCC license. We have been tasked with putting this technology on air by October of 2013. There were some issues regarding interference previously, but I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hanley to describe to the board.
Global positioning system frequencies were in the 1559 to 1610 megahertz block, and the issue came with the frequency block obtained by Light Squared, which was 1525 to 1559 megahertz, which is right about to the GPS frequency block. The frequency block that they're proposing to transmit in is 1670 to 1675 megahertz. So it's not the same frequency block as with the interference that they had before.
Okay. Yeah, I see the band reference that Mr. Hanley just referenced, 1670 to 1675. I guess a question maybe for our professionals in terms of verification. As with anything else, I mean, obviously we accept a lot of people's evidence here for a variety of things in terms of verifying it, and where does that, whose bailiwick is that, Mr. Clark?
The information submitted by the applicant is sufficient under our ordinance and under the law to allow the township to grant this conditional use application. The issue with regards to the frequency or those other issues would be one that the applicant would address with the FCC, and it would be the FCC's jurisdiction. As you know, in years past, we had discussions during these meetings. There was a former board member who used to talk about these towers interrupting people's antenna televisions or handheld cordless phones, not cell phones. And each time we would get into this discussion, we would tell them that once a license is issued by the FCC, the applicant has met their burden or met their requirements to have us grant the application. If there is anything subsequent to these documents, then that strictly becomes between the FCC and the applicant, and we no longer have jurisdiction. So, in essence, while Mr. Binney may be correct, the applicant has submitted everything they need to have this application approved. If there are problems with their license with the FCC will address it with them.
Okay. Well, I'll ask Mr. Binney's question again to you, Mr. Crusader, to Mr. Hanley, which, if you were installing this antenna today, could you flip the switch and have it active now, or is there any sort of pending FCC debate or discussion between your employer and everybody?
Not for the proposed frequency block that they're planning to use.
Okay. Okay.
So the answer is yes. They could flip the switch.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate Mr. Binney bringing that up. I mean, it's certainly some of outside my expertise or anybody else up here. And Mr. Binney has the background and his own private. His private life, to give us that information. So, so thank you for bringing that up. Is there any other comment or question? One, Mr. Kinney, you have to come up here, Mr. Kinney.
I just want to check the microphone to see if it's on, because I can't hear these guys.
What?
It ain't on.
Ah. Now it's on. There you go.
There we go.
All right. Maybe we should hire you to replace Mr. Markey. All right, thank you. Any other public comment or question? Anybody else want to check the sound system or? No? Okay.
The air conditioning, maybe.
We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do karaoke a little later on, maybe. Okay. Any other comments or questions from board members?
I guess the only question I had was, Mr. Clark, what you're saying, I understood what you said. Excuse me, and if there were any change in relationship with FCC, obviously through some channel, we would know about this, and it would affect what your company is able to do, I assume, but I don't.
Yes, it's heavily regulated.
But we might not know about it, because what we're approving is for them to install this antenna. If they may run afoul of the FCC at some later date, and the FCC may pull their ability, as to, we're saying, make them flick the switch in the other direction, but all we're doing is letting them put the antenna up on the tower. If they have problems with the FCC, well, Mr. Couchet is right, it's heavily regulated. We would not necessarily be notified because that's outside of our jurisdiction. That's within the FCC and between the applicant and the FCC, so.
Okay, I understand.
But if there are problems, the FCC may stop them from broadcasting, but we don't have to be notified of that.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comment or question, we'll entertain a motion to close the conditional use hearing.
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we've heard testimony from the applicant and his professionals, as well as some public comment and also comment from our professionals. We are looking to, let's see, at the conditional use application for 275 Lincoln Highway for the installation of a whip antenna as presented this evening. Is there a motion to grant the conditional use application?
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you all very much. Good evening.
See us move these back.
Okay, item 4 is consider a grant from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society for tree planting at the Falls Township Community Park. Mr. Gray, you're turning into quite the arborist over the last few years with all your work with the Shade Tree Commission. I know you have some information on this.
Yes, thank you. Recently, the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society contacted Township about the potential for a grant which could provide tree plantings within the township. Here tonight to discuss this item further is Ms. Emma Melvin from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society and members of the Shade Tree Commission as well.
Hi, my name is Emma Melvin. I am the Plant 1 Million Regional Project Manager for the Society. What we're interested in doing is submitting a grant application to DCED for the Act 13 Watershed Protection and Water Quality Improvement Grant. It's a new grant that just came out. This project focuses on Lower Bucks County. We're looking at 3 municipalities, Bristol Township, Middletown Township, and Falls Township. We're looking at planting along streams and rivers. So in Falls, we're looking at doing tree planting along the community lake, Falls Township Lake, and Martins Creek. As part of that, along Martins Creek, there are invasive plants that we hope to remove as part of this project to be able to plant trees. And our goal is to reduce stormwater impacts and improve the water quality, but also enhance the beautification of the property to bring additional ecological and aesthetic beauty to users. Okay. So we're looking at, it's a larger grant, so the total grant is around $300,000. We haven't finalized the budget yet, so we're not sure what the exact number is, but we're looking at around 500 to 1,000 riparian trees, and that's a little bit, that's smaller trees, so it's not big landscape trees, and that's really designed to have an easier survival rate. We do hope to, as part of this grant, maintain these trees. So for the first 2 years, we would have interns coming back to these trees and watering them, maintaining them. So we're also going to put deer protection on, because there's a lot of deer in Bucks County, to make sure that they're not damaged and they are actually serving the purpose of water quality improvement in stormwater. So they grow to maturity. We're looking to do volunteer plantings as part of this. We oversee the planting, we select the plants. I am an arborist, and I do run a grant program that does give funds out to communities to do riparian planting. So I'm very well versed in plantings, riparian plantings particularly. And I also manage all the large tree planting projects for PHS. So I would be the project manager. I would be working with the tree tenders, the Shade Tree Commission, a community group, schools in the area to get these trees planted.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll turn over to board comment and questions and see if there's any public comment as well. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In looking at this that was given to us about the replanting, I assume that the light green areas are the areas you're looking at?
Yes.
And so, because so much is in the public park, I wonder if has this been through our park board, and have they discussed it so that they're involved in?
Park and Rec Board?
Park and Rec, yeah.
No, they have not. The Shade Tree Commission has reviewed this.
I think it'd be great to involve the park board. And one of the concerns I have, I mean, obviously I'm totally in favor of this, but one of the questions I have is the melding of our interests of replanting and water quality with recreation.
Yeah.
I know there might be issues of access to the lake, but maybe more trees is great shade and people will love it.
So one of the things that we plan to do for this project is to have public comment. And so before we decide on the exact locations of any of the trees, we would attend board meetings for various uses. So work with the Parks and Rec Board to say, okay, what are the current uses? What are the future uses for these areas? Where are off limits? Where are on limits? We would attend the park to see how the users are using these areas to designate areas for fishing, access to the lakes, boating, and things like that. So the map shows potential locations, but not the finalized locations. So all those things would be part of the planning process to decide the exact planning locations.
Thanks. Another question is, I'm assuming that some areas you're going to plant what I'm sort of thinking of as shade trees, and some areas you're going to be creating more of a wooded area, a dense hedgerow or a dense riparian buffer along the stream.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's true. So along the lake, there is an open area that is typically used by fishermen. That area will have a combination. So we'll have designated trees that kind of delineate denser plantings. We'll have plantings along areas that collect stormwater that are not technically along the stream to help. Then those would be bigger trees, more like landscape trees. They wouldn't be a full bald and burlap, but they would be kind of beautification. So they could be a combination of canopy trees and flowering trees, but they're both designed to absorb some of that stormwater that's coming through the property. And all of the locations and species selection would be run through the board.
Through the what?
The boards, so the Parks and Rec and Shade Tree Commission.
Okay, I have other questions, but I don't want to dominate, so I'll let other people.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dents?
How many trees are you hoping to plant in the park?
Well, that's a good question. So we have a larger planting location. So we have the 3 communities, and we have a goal of a certain number of trees to plant. And my range for Falls Township is anywhere from 500 to 1,000 trees, but that may not be what we can achieve in Falls Township. So part of that is going through the process of working with the Parks and Rec Board and the Shade Tree Commission and asking, okay, what areas it would be suitable, and how would you like these trees located? So would you like them more dense here, or would you like them less dense? But we do have the reason why the planting locations are so vast is to allow that flexibility for some trees areas to be planted more and some areas to be planted less.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. I'll ask a question I know the answer to. I'm hoping anyway. I'm assuming these are all native species.
They are, yes.
Okay.
And there will be a natural community assessment for the area, so it will be trees that not only are native to Pennsylvania, but that are a certain community of trees that will then, that are native to this area and that specific location. So it's a grouping of trees that we're looking for to create the forest and the habitat and the native fauna to come.
All right. Okay. And a lot of my questions were already addressed. Essentially, what you're looking for from us is just that we're signing on to you allowing to do this. I mean, is there a commitment of funding you need from us?
There is not. I'm looking for a letter of support. This project requires a letter of commitment from the municipality saying, you know, we allow PHS to move forward with this grant. We support the planting, and we allow them to plant on this property, things like that. The support that we would look for the municipality is all in kind. So the shade tree participating with planting locations or looking at the planting selection, helping supply volunteers and advertising the planting fence, things like that.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yes, another question.
Sure.
You mentioned involving the schools, and I wondered, is it too early in the game to ask how you envision having the school kids involved?
Well, a couple things. We do multiple things with trees at PHS. We do education for adults and through schools. And so part of that is really to engage the community and get them aware that trees are good for the community, how to properly plant trees, how to maintain them. So part of this is to do some education within the community to get the kids out and planting, to get them out and about and kind of involved.
That they would actually be involved in some of the planting?
Yeah, well, that's our hope, is that they would come out either on probably a weekend, but if not, is it possible to come out on a weekday? A lot of times that's not a possibility with the schools. But to get them some education in class and then to have them have a planting event to come out and get involved in the actual planting of the trees.
I have one last question. So the monitoring of the trees and the protection of the trees and watering if necessary, how long would this grant provide people to be able to do that?
We're looking at 2 years. The grant period is around 2 years. So we'll be watering and maintaining them through that grant period. And usually when we plant a new tree, that is the establishment period we look for, because after that they should be able to handle kind of the fluctuations of wet and dry time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't have any more comments or questions. Any public comment needed? See one hand? Oh, motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Dell?
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. Is this something very similar to what Goal does, correct?
Some of the similar, yes. They're more what Miss Melvin talked about, going into areas where streams where they have invasive species of plants. That Goal
That's
does
what Goal
that,
basically
but
does.
Goal also does a lot of litter removal and trash removal of stream areas.
Yeah, because I mean, I've done some volunteer work with
Right.
Dale Frazier and Ed Armstrong and those guys, and going along these creeks and taking out the invasive species and cutting them back, they grow back faster. Well, Jonathan knows, because I'm sure you've torn down
Depends
vines.
what you're talking about, knotweed or...
Yeah, I mean, it's these things will grow back within 2-3 weeks. They start encroaching back unless you kill them with a chemical, which you're not going to want to spray near any of the waterways.
Right.
So it's going to take a lot of manual labor to maintain, especially not at the township park, being that you'd be planting landscape type trees individually. When you start creating barriers and waterway protection, you're pulling out some of the invasive species, but if you don't get every last root out of that ground, it comes back, and it seems like it comes back stronger than it did when it was originally there, and you start ripping it out. So it's what I'm looking at is I'm just curious about how you're going to stop the invasive species from overtaking the new plant material that's put in the ground, and the watering of these plants, especially depending on the timing of the installation, and I didn't know how many trees the Shade Tree Commission, out of all the trees that were donated to us how many we have left in our inventory or stockpile.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that, but I think Ms. Melvin has an answer to your question.
Definitely can address all those issues.
Just close to the microphone,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
For the invasive species, depending on what plant it is, so there is multiple ones. Japanese knotweed actually shouldn't be pulled at all. It does cause the plant to multiply. It spreads through its roots, so when pulling, you're actually exacerbating the problem. The only management for Japanese knotweed is actually an herbicide application. That requires a permit to be applied next to streams. So that is a regulated application that if we find Japanese knotweed, that would be something we want to do. These are not pesticides that anyone can apply. This has to be a certified applicant who knows how to apply them adjacent to streams. Part of the program I run is a grant program that does this exact thing, gives out grants to community members, and they do these things. They do invasive plant removal. We assess all of this process as part of that grant application. For the maintenance, we will hire interns to water them. So these plants will be watered and maintained. The invasive removal will be during that same period of time. So we're not looking at just coming in and kind of whacking things down and planting. We're looking at maintaining the system and creating that system. So when we are monitoring and maintaining, we're also going to be monitoring and maintaining any invasive plants that come back. We'll be doing things as part of that to reduce the risk, like mulching around the area. We'll be improving the soil so the trees have a better survival rate. In some of the areas, we'll be inoculating some of the soils with microbes that help trees grow. And we'll be maintaining and monitoring and replacing through the whole grant process.
Okay.
That helps out. Yes. And the other thing I was going to mention, and it's a sad fact, is you will also have vandalism with people mowing down some of these plants. It happened to us. They drove their car through and just drove over top of everything, and then we had to go back and replant. And
yeah, but probably not where I know you can't see the map we can see, but that's not right. Mr. Dent's is colorblind, so he just joked. He said he can't see it either. So,
okay.
But
the placement's impossible.
The placement's in places where that's not going to be an issue.
It's in the park, basically.
Yeah, it's in the township park. It's right next to the lake. It's on that little peninsula. It's near the skateboard park. I mean, I'm
not against this. There's things I just was curious about, and the other thing is when you have all these people working on township property, whose liability is it, responsibility is it for all these people, interns, and people are just volunteers themselves when they're out there, and if someone, God forbid, gets hurt on a piece of equipment or something.
I'll turn it over to Ms. Melvin, too.
So all our volunteers are required to sign a waiver that exempts, that it says that exactly.
Identifies the township.
Yeah, so it says, we are volunteers, we are responsible for anything that happens to us as part of the planting. We are responsible for any of our employees. Okay. So we cover the insurance or any accident issues that happens with our employees. In addition, I am very aware of the issues with smaller trees when they plant, that it is very common that they are overlooked and maybe mowed down. Part of this planting is to designate larger landscape trees on the edge to kind of let people know this is a treed area. These are bigger trees, and kind of makes them see them better. Kind of markers. And so we do that a lot of times in our riparian plantings to kind of get people and people who are mowing and who aren't maybe aware of the project, let them know that, okay, there's a difference here, because this is a recurring problem that we have with our riparian tree plantings.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Any other public comment? Oh, see no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so what we're looking at essentially is whether or not to provide the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society with a letter of support and the other kind of support they need to move forward with this grant for tree planting in Falls Township. Essentially covers what you're looking for, Ms. Melvin. Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Very good. Okay. Okay, item number 5, waste gas minor subdivision. That is, the applicant has asked us to table that. They're not prepared at this point to move forward. Okay, and so is there a motion to table the waste gas minor subdivision?
We're going to table it to the August 20th meeting.
Okay, all right.
This way we don't have to, has this been advertised? No.
I'll make the motion to table till the August 20th meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, consider resolution for Mill Creek Road and Levittown Parkway for a PennDOT application. This is for traffic signal improvements. We've done these at several big intersections. This might be the last one last big one? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
We've done a lot of big ones. I'm trying to think of one that's left we haven't done yet. All right, Mr. Gray, go ahead and do some more explanation.
Yes, Traffic Planning and Design has been working on traffic signal design for Mill Creek Road and Levittown Parkway. Part of the PennDOT application requires an application and a resolution approved by the Board of Supervisors. Tonight, the board is asked to consider this resolution. Here tonight to discuss the project further is Mr. Bob Stone from Traffic Planning and Design.
Bob Stone from Traffic Planning and Design. We did design the traffic signal at this intersection, and the application is for a major modification to that traffic signal installation. It's a relatively new form that PennDOT has developed at any time when you're making either a new application or major modification. So that was the purpose of this, the signature.
They understand they're never going to work for us ever again.
And what exactly, are these signals, or these traffic signals, are they going to have a battery backup, the emergency preemption, that kind of thing?
The traffic signal design was for a complete installation of the traffic signal. This traffic signal was, I believe, originally permitted in 1973. It's certainly lived its usefulness, and based on discussions with Mr. Arneo, it's going to include all new mast arms, all new electric wiring. It is the entire installation. The original one will be removed as part of the project.
Okay. All right, so this is just looking for the PennDOT application. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Stone? Mr. Snipes?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Okay, any public comment? See no hands. All right, then this would be Resolution 1315?
15.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 1315 for the for traffic planning and design for PennDOT application for traffic signals at Mill Creek Road and Levittown Parkway?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Stone. Okay, item number 7, consider adopting ordinance amendment to the Township Code of Ordinances for no parking signs on Philadelphia Avenue. This was an issue we looked at, have been looking at for some time. Philadelphia Avenue, very near where it intersects with Tyburn Road. There is one business in particular where a tremendous number of people park on the roadway itself. It's a PennDOT road. There is no parking allowed in the actual business lot, so everyone who wants to visit that particular business has to park on the road. That has resulted in a lot of concern on the part of our police department as well as our code enforcement department. It generates a lot of litter, and not just Gatorade bottles and coffee cups, but tires, used motor oil, antifreeze bottles, car parts, because people essentially go into this business, they purchase a new part of transmission for their car, and then they sit underneath their car while it's sitting on Philadelphia Avenue, and they replace the transmission and then throw the discarded part just on the side of the road. And it's obviously, it isn't sanitary, it isn't safe. It is very close to the on-ramp and off-ramp from Tyburn Road. The speed limit is 55 miles an hour for vehicles on that road. And so just myself, Mr. Gray, Lieutenant Ward, Ms. Gallagher, Mr. Bennett visited the site several weeks ago to meet with the owner and discuss options. And because on the one hand, we want to do something that's for public safety, but on the other hand, she was complaining that it was going to do damage to her business because she was going to lose customers. So we wanted to try and we tabled at that time, actually a month ago, we tabled this issue so we could have some more discussion. And even just the brief time we were out there, 20 minutes or so, we saw almost 2 accidents from vehicles that were parked on the side of the road that were trying to pull back out on the Philadelphia Avenue, and cars coming down, and the cars are traveling 55. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just that the situation is a bad situation. In speaking with the property owner, it really is, it's come down to the fact that the property owner is going to have to change the way they run their business. They're going to have to allow for parking inside on their actual property. In fact, there is a plan that has been around for several years for that site that includes on-site parking, and the owner of the property is not providing that parking right now. Basically forcing customers to park on a PennDOT road in an unsafe situation. And obviously, we did try to balance the concerns of the business owner with public safety, but we have to err on the side of public safety. We don't really have a choice at that point. And talking with Mr. Clark and Ms. Gallagher, once we become aware of a situation that is a safety issue, we don't have an option. We have to act, because if we choose not to act, if we decide to say, well, we'll ban parking on one side of the road but not here, that way people can still park there and this business owner doesn't lose customers, and there's an accident, we become liable. And because we knew there was a dangerous situation, we took no action. So the ordinance would be banning parking on both sides of Philadelphia Avenue, essentially from where it intersects with Tyburn Road down, I forget how many feet, or how
75 feet north. Or I'm sorry, from 75 feet north of the northern guardrail up to Pico pole number 58.
Okay. All right. And essentially would ban parking. I know we did talk with this property owner. She was aware of the fact we were having this meeting this evening and be discussing this. She's not here. But we did discuss with her the idea of having this law go into effect in early September. That would allow her some time to reconfigure her lot and adjust the way her facility operates so that she can, make allowance for on-site parking. We didn't want to just have this go into effect tomorrow and put her in that kind of situation. And in essence, since we met with her maybe 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, something like that. It's been that much time already that some action could have been taken. So we'll listen to any comments or questions from board members, and if there's any public comment or questions. Mr. Snipes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for your time and the professionals for the time, and township employees and especially the police for thinking about this and thinking about the public safety aspect of it. Obviously, we're not trying to hurt a business in the township. We're just trying to make sure that things are run effectively and safely. So it sounds like we need to do this. We had a conversation last time, a month ago. It sounds like there was a chance to have a dialogue with the business owner, the property owner. I don't see her here tonight, so I think we've had an opportunity to have dialogue, and I think we need to move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
I wasn't part of your group that went down there, but I too have been down there several times and several times witnessed near-miss accidents. You're just worried about losing business, but it's in such an obscure location and such a specific business. I think anybody that's coming down there that's going to be going there for a specific item isn't going to turn around because they can't park on the street. That's just my theory. But I don't think it's really going to hurt business that much. I think the people that are going there are going to go there to get what they need anyway. And for safety, you have to do it. That's my opinion. That's all I have.
Any public comment? See one hands or motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
Favor? Aye.
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 I hear you saying there's slight come close. How many accidents did they have there? Does anybody know?
We don't have a record of any accidents at the site, and she doesn't either. And our police don't have any,
Because I think she has 8 or 9 employees, if I'm not correct and
I don't
not
know
wrong.
how many employees she has.
where are they supposed to move? These people, like he said, comes in there, gets their parts, and leaves. Ain't there no place along there where her vehicles that want stuff can just park, get their stuff, and they have to leave?
There is a lot. There is a lot, and according to a previous plan, there's space for 24 parking spaces. But she's not operating according to that plan, which has been on file here, for several years.
10 years?
10 years. Essentially, and she has signs on her fence that say, no parking inside. So she's essentially forcing all her customers to park on the street.
All right, just ask.
No, it's a good question. That's why we wanted to go look at it, to see what was actually there. So
That's a good point, that there is actually room, a designated parking area inside the fence.
Right.
That could be used.
Right. She has parking for her employees inside the fence, but not for customers.
Mr. Dent, it's not simply a matter of could be used, it's a matter of must be used. The recorded plan for this property, which the owner would have been made aware of or should have been made aware of when they purchased the property, indicates that there must be off-street parking with at least 24 spots. As we've looked in this whole situation, we've realized that she's not providing any off-street parking for any of her customers, and therefore she's violating our zoning ordinance and she's violating our subdivision ordinance. She has to start providing parking inside. She has to have at least 24 marked spots, or else she'll be cited.
And she has that plan. We actually gave her a copy of that plan 3 weeks ago. And if she didn't already have it, which, as Mr. Clark said, she should have, she's had it for at least the last 3 weeks. She doesn't necessarily have to follow that specific plan. If she wants to orient those parking spaces inside her lot in a different way, fine, but there has to be 24 of them, at least. So,
Mr. Chairman, I also want to add that I'm glad that we are talking about a December start date for this. So
September.
I'm sorry, September, not December. To give the business owner time to move things around and come in compliance.
is there any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Mr.
Okay.
Harvey,
Yes.
there was some discussion among the board members and with the property owner about possibly extending the area that would be covered by this ordinance. So the board wants to consider that. The property owner had suggested actually extending the no parking zone up to the curve in the road on Philadelphia Avenue.
For down her property? Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that was something that she did recommend, and I don't think we have any reason not to do that, because she had mentioned there have been some accidents further down, not necessarily in front of her property, but the neighboring property. But it's a similar issue, so I think we should extend it, further down to that curve.
Okay. So we'll work with the police to designate that in the ordinance, but it's not a substantial change, so you can still go forward tonight.
Okay. All right. All right, so this would be ordinance 1304. 04.
Resolution, I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right, ordinance 13-04, prohibiting parking along Philadelphia Avenue. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, next is consider resolution for the hiring of a new police officer. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the board is asked to consider a resolution for the hiring of a new police officer by the name of Jarrett Eisenhower. He will replace an former officer who is retired. He is projected to be sworn in on July 22nd. The board is asked to consider this resolution for the new hiring of Jarrett Eisenhower as a police officer.
Okay. I've talked with Chief Wilcox. The interview process and hiring process that he's set up really has been exhaustive. They really go through, they take a tremendous amount of work and effort, and it's been that way for pretty much since he's become chief. Mr. Eisenhower is already a police officer in a neighboring municipality, but he would like to come to Falls Township. So he does have that experience. He would not have to go to the police academy, so we could get him on the streets sooner. His background's been checked. He's interviewed with a variety of members of our police force, and they all think that he is an excellent candidate. So, I don't know if there are any comments or questions regarding this hiring?
No.
No? Okay. All right, this would be Resolution 1316.
16, yes.
Okay. Hiring Jared Eisenhower as a police officer for Falls Township. Is there a motion?
That motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 9. Not quite halfway there. Consider purchase of Data 911 laptop computer and hardware and software upgrades for police vehicles. Mr. Gray.
Police Department is requesting to purchase a mobile laptop computer, monitors, warranties, and upgrades for use in a police vehicle. This purchase is from Data 911. This has been budgeted in the 2013 budget, and the laptop is on the co-stars list. The board is asked to consider this entire purchase for $11,485.40 from Data 911. Also in attendance tonight is Lieutenant Ward, if the board may have any questions.
Okay. My understanding is this is just the basic computer that's mounted in every police vehicle. Is that accurate, Lieutenant Ward?
Yes, all our patrol vehicles are equipped with computers. This is just a basic computer that's issued to all of them.
Okay. And this would be replacing one that's sort of gone down, or is this just next?
This will actually be one of the vehicles that we did not equip. We were doing it in a step process each year. With this purchase, we will have all our vehicles equipped, so we won't have to come back with you next year, hopefully, with this request.
This is for one? 11,000 for one computer?
It's very intricate. There's a monitor, there's a keyboard, there's a processor that goes in the back of the trunk. So it's a lot of parts.
It's not like you're going to Best Buy and buying a laptop.
Yes, it's very different from a laptop. It's able to operate off the car battery. It's integrated with the county and federal systems. It's pretty complicated.
Gotcha.
Mr. Snipes, any questions?
No questions, no.
I'm assuming there's a warranty with it as well?
Yes, I think there's a 2-year warranty with it, and we have been starting last year after Officer Clean's accident. We started insuring them all. We hadn't done that before. With that, we realized the insurance company wouldn't pay for the laptop, so now we're having them all insured separately than the vehicle.
Okay. All right. And obviously, we've had success with this particular model and system.
Yes, this is one of the best in the industry. Most police departments use it.
Okay. All right. Any public comment? See no hands. Okay. Is there a motion then to purchase the Data 911 from Data 911 the laptop, computer, monitors, warranties, and upgrades for use in a police vehicle in the amount of $11,485.40?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. All right. Item 10 is consider authorizing advertisement for amendment to Housing Standard Ordinance, Chapter 138, Section 2G. Couple of authorizations to advertise. Ms. Gallagher, I believe you worked on this.
I did, Mr. Harvey. The purpose of the Township's code currently allows the storage of one disabled or unregistered vehicle on a property. What this would do was continue to allow project vehicles to be stored on a property, but would prohibit that storage beyond 6 months, and would also prohibit the storage of any vehicle on lawns or yards or anywhere that's not a driveway or an enclosed garage. As I said, it does provide for exceptions if there is a licensed auto wrecker or vehicle dealer, and again, for the project cars, it does allow for the full reconstruction of a vehicle, but only for a limited period of time. Any vehicle that would be violating this ordinance would be considered a public nuisance, and their code department could cite them accordingly.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members?
And this change has arisen because of why we're receiving complaints, or?
Our code department has been receiving complaints about properties that are allowing the storage of these vehicles for indeterminate times and that are just an eyesore.
This is any type of vehicle?
It would prohibit the storage of any vehicles on lawns. It would allow the storage of registered and licensed vehicles in the driveway or in a garage with
That
no.
would include boats and RVs and.
This would include boats, RVs, trailers, campers. And again, the target of the ordinance is more the unlicensed and unregistered varieties, but.
I know we've always gotten a lot of complaints from people about neighbors who have a car that's been sitting in the yard for years and years and years. There was one a few years ago where the car had actually been sitting there so long that a tree had actually grown up through the engine block area. And so to actually remove the car, they had to cut the tree out first. Green energy, right? It's a different kind of different kind of solar vehicle.
That's invasive species there, right?
Yeah, that's an invasive species. And so obviously this is kind of the focus of that. And I know I remember having this issue and this discussion for years about everyone's allowed one project car that can basically sit at their house, but it ends up being a project for decades and decades and decades and decades, and nobody ever does anything with it.
I'm sorry,
and
Mr.
people might have
Chairman.
good intentions, but they just don't do anything with
When
it.
you said project vehicle, you meant specifically?
Well, basically a vehicle that's not licensed. It's something that they bought somewhere and they meant to fix it up. Maybe it's a classic car, maybe it's a car from the 60s that's a muscle car that they were gonna, this is gonna be, and then nothing ever got done with it. And then it just becomes, an eyesore. And obviously it damages, property values. It becomes, if it's really not maintained, it can become, a habitat for, all kinds of animals that nobody wants in their yards or around their houses. And we've gotten numerous complaints, year after year from people that just, want something done, and our ordinance didn't allow for it. So this would be strengthening that. Again, this is authorizing advertising.
And I've got one last question.
Sure.
So it says under one section A, B, 6 months. So this is permitted. Someone could be, say, as you were saying, working on a vehicle, could be there for 6 months, but beyond 6 months, it's not permitted.
Right.
It's never permitted just parking on the grass is what.
How do you enforce that
That's correct.
6 month thing?
Well, the 6 months, if it's in a garage, there's no time limitation. If it's in a closed space, there's no time limitation. But if it's it would just be, if our code department observed a vehicle on a given date and then 6 months later it's still there, or if a neighbor was complaining.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that means if it's not licensed, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
Comments or
That's
questions?
it.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the advertising for this amendment? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I have one
Aye.
more question.
Oh, good.
How the 6 month thing? I got a question about that. How do you know? I mean, who's to say that the car was actually there and not moved and brought back for 6 months? I mean,
That would be up to our code department to make the initial determination, and then ultimately up to Judge Vislowski to determine whether or not the citation should hold.
I mean, certain vehicles, if there's no tires on them and they're just, it's obvious that it hasn't gone anywhere. If it's up on blocks or something,
If it's a licensed, registered vehicle and it's sitting in a driveway for 3 years, doesn't.
you have an unlicensed, unregistered vehicle sitting in your yard at all? I guess you can.
Sure.
For 6 months.
Absent this ordinance? Yes.
But not on the grass.
All right. That's all I have.
Mr. Dell?
Did I hear you right about the not parking on the lawn? That's with any vehicle?
Correct.
Right.
Now, what about the people on Trenton Road that park up on their grass along all of Trenton Road to keep their cars from getting mowed down? Sort of close to Amato's Pizza, all the way down to, say, 7-Eleven. I'd say 95% of the people park up on their lawn because more vehicles have gotten wrecked there if they park out on the street. Because their driveways, say, have 2 cars and they have a third car. They sort of pull up on the apron of their driveway and park in the grass between the sidewalk and the street. And everybody does it. And it's not just 1 or 2 families. I mean, in order to keep your
Yeah,
vehicle
that's it.
from getting wrecked, I mean, are they in violation?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're going to be.
Right, they would be if this passes as it is now.
And the other question I have is getting away from vehicles. The people have trash pouring out of their carports and just they're stockpiling, it looks like a mini landfill at their house. Is there some,
Talking about me?
well, yours isn't that bad yet. It's getting close. But when these houses have that kind of debris there, is there any ordinance for that, or are we just looking at vehicles for now? I mean, can you get to the point where they get the hoarders that just won't throw anything out, and it's just like pouring out of their house, and you got a beautiful house on this side and a beautiful house on that side, and then just fire hazard sitting in the center.
And well, that's one of the, you use sort of a magic word. I mean, really, it does depend on what's being stored there. Code enforcement could certainly be called and take a look. It really does depend on what it is. I mean, obviously, like you said, if it's a fire hazard, if it is some, things that are, endangering the neighbors, if it's, so bad that it has become a habitat and it's a health issue, then even the county board of health can get involved. The thing is, of course, it has to be reported. I mean, we have 3 code enforcement officers. We have a couple of fire marshals, people in the fire marshal's office, but really a half dozen people, 7 or 8 people at the most, driving around can't inspect every property in Falls Township. But if we get calls from people that say, well, my neighbor has this, my neighbor has that, and again, if it's a safety issue especially, then that brings it to our attention. I can't quote you codes off the top of my head, but I'm sure obviously there are codes that deal with that kind of issue.
It just draws in the rats and rodents.
Sure,
I mean,
exactly.
it's unhealthy all the way around. And if it looks like that outside, I can't imagine when you crack the front door open.
Right.
The other last question I have, and I know it's an oldie but goodie, but the house on Oxford Valley Road that has the ongoing flea market out there, what is going on with that?
That was a case that was brought before the district justice several years ago.
Predates us.
Yeah, predates us, really. I mean, but essentially, Butch Tidman. He, according to that court order that was issued many years ago, is allowed to operate that perpetual yard sale. He has to keep it a certain distance away from the right-of-way.
Well, I thought we had an ordinance on yard sales.
This court order, this sort of agreement predates that. So that takes precedence over anything we passed.
Now, is this something he, God forbid, pass along down the family tree and this thing go in perpetuity? I mean,
I don't know that.
I believe, I haven't taken a look at the court order in years, but as long as the property remains in the same ownership, they can continue it forever. Once it transfers to a different owner, then it ends.
A different owner could be a child, could be like a son or daughter, it could be a different owner, so anybody.
Right.
So yeah, it was basically you're waiting for this gentleman to expire. He does periodically move things a little closer to the right of way, and Mr. Bennett, gives him a call or knocks on his door, and he brings things back, and it's sort of an ongoing, like the tides. Kind of
yes.
thing. Yeah.
It's hideous, though. You're right.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do.
All right. I just thought I'd ask because I.
No, yeah, it's nothing we can do.
Thank you.
Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so motion to advertise the amendment to the Housing Standard Ordinance, Chapter 138. Is there a motion?
One more question. Sure. I'm sorry. This goes for the front and the back of houses, rear of houses?
There's no restriction, front or backyard. Obviously, we can only see what we can see, so.
So I know if you go down like Penn Valley Road, some people keep boats and such behind their houses, so they're going to have to move those as well.
If they're on the lawn, yes.
It's on lawns. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to go over like a lead balloon, but okay, that's all.
But again, I think one of the things that we have to remember is that our code enforcement department is not looking to sneak around in people's backyards to see these problems. They're dealing with complaints from residents, and we'll deal with that. And they're also dealing with the real sort of the worst of the offenders, the people who are pulling old junk cars up onto their grass and just leaving them there for years, and they throw a tarp on it, and they think, every 8 months or a year they go out and they remove a headlight or something, and now they say they're working on it. That's really what we're trying to combat. Somebody pulling a car up on their grass because they have a lot of visitors in from out of town overnight or whatever. That's not really what we're trying to combat. We're trying to combat the eyesores and the ones that are negatively impacting the look and the property values in a certain area.
I just thought of something. I keep a trailer on the side of my house, so does that mean I'm in violation? I have to move my trailer from the side of my house because it's on the grass?
Yeah. Living in it?
Not that kind of trailer.
Not yet.
Landscape type trailer. Not yet. So I have to move that into the back of my yard? I mean...
And what's your address again?
Is
Yes,
that
you might
correct?
have to, Mr. Dennis. We'd be happy to review that a little bit more fully with you later, but yes, you might have to. Code may come after you.
We can fill out a permit and extend your driveway back to the backyard.
Yeah, right. This includes backyards and not just front yards and rear yards. This is anywhere on my property.
Yep.
All right, we'll advertise this. Well, if there's a motion to advertise, we'll advertise, and obviously, as we do with many of these things, there'll be discussion, and at some point in the future, we'll come back to this. Is there a motion to advertise?
Well, I think if we advertise it, then we'll get some discussion going. And there, I don't know whether we're going to make changes to this or whether Mr. Clark says we're going to enforce it obviously with good sense and not, be overzealous about it.
If we approve this to advertise, we can still make changes?
Certainly can, and if there...
As of right now, I'd be voting no.
If there's substantial changes, then you will be, have to re-advertise. If they're not substantial changes, you would be able to pass it in August.
If we choose to look at it in August.
If you choose to look at it in August. You may want to look at it in September. Give Mr. Dent's time to get that trailer off.
Now, my barbecue smoker is a trailer as well, but now has a license plate. So is that legal to keep in my backyard? You tell me I got to get my grill and get it out of my backyard? There's got to be some changes.
And we're happy to discuss any changes that you would like to put in.
There's going to be a lot of people affected by this that are not going to be happy, including me.
But remember what we're trying to combat.
I understand.
Not the barbecue smoker. I'm sure none of your neighbors complain. They probably all enjoy the barbecue.
Okay. I'll make the motion then to advertise.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, another authorization of advertising, changing a couple of the rules within the community park. Rescinding one rule and instituting a few others. Ms. Gallagher, you worked on this as well?
I did. The rule that would be rescinded would be the rule that prohibits windsurf devices or any similar devices in the community park. And it would also be adding a separate subsection dealing with vending and prohibiting the vending of any items in the township park absent a license issued by the township, which would require the appropriate child abuse clearance checks and criminal background checks, and would incorporate some of the ideas that were present in the request for proposals that we issued at the beginning of the summer that we did not get any responses on, but would incorporate some of those ideas and give the board the final decision on whether or not to issue a vending license in the future. Those are all the changes that are in this ordinance.
Okay. I know that Mr. Dents and I remember before we were supervisors, sitting in the audience and hearing maybe 10 years ago or so, probably actually, at least 10 years ago, the board vote to ban windsurfing on the lake in the community park. They thought it was a safety issue. Anybody who sort of walks around that lake at various times of the year knows that there's a good wind that goes across the variety, in any direction at any time. And it seems as if, we're kind of a little bit of taking the fun out of having a lake like that with a good amount of winds. And if people, and I don't know anybody who windsurfs, but if somebody wanted to go out there and windsurf, obviously they'd have to wear, the life jackets, et cetera. But I don't really see why people shouldn't be allowed just to go out and enjoy the lake if they wanted to. So, and obviously they're doing it at their own risk, just like all the boaters out there do now. And so this would be rescinding that and allowing that to go forward if people wanted to. And the vending obviously would not apply to things like, the queue for the troops or, the soccer club when they're, having their concession stand or anything like that. But just having random people sort of going throughout the community park and just, selling things out of their trucks or something like that, that's a little bit of an issue that we have. And this would sort of crack down on that, where we would be able to control who's going in there, and as Ms. Gallagher said, certify that they have criminal background checks and child abuse clearance checks and And also that we could grant licenses to people who are going in there and selling, and then the township could take some part of the profit in that and make some money. So again, just authorizing advertisement. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Gallagher?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's making me wonder about a couple of things. This says the vending, sale, distribution, etc., food items, beverages, merchandise strictly prohibited except upon approval of the Board of Supervisors, payment of requisite fee in place at time of application, issuance of vending license. Does that mean that we might agree that the Board of Supervisors would permit someone who wants to take a lunch truck in there
Yes.
every Saturday?
That's the whole
throughout
point.
the summer season.
Right.
We did advertise to offer up a vending license, but we got no responses. We did find someone that was interested, but he hit a major roadblock with the Bucks County Department of Health, because apparently you really can't sell anything. Not much. They limit, really, not limit, I mean, for good cause, for good reason. It's really tough what you can and can't sell off of a cart. So, but the idea was that we would allow, that no vending's allowed at all now, other than the soccer clubs, and like Mr. Harvey said. The idea was that it would be nice if you could go down there and buy something to drink while you're walking your dog or whatever you're doing down at the park. But they were having a tough time with that.
So if I wanted to go down and walk 10 dogs, for instance, I'm a professional dog walker, I would need to get a license and...
No, this is just for food. This is
food
fine.
Is it only for food
Yes.
we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, because we have the guy down there vending the boat rentals right now.
Food, beverages, and
But obviously
novelties and things like that. Yeah.
He has a false business license, I would assume.
The license would be required for if you wanted to sell food, beverages, merchandise, novelties, or anything like that, but not just to be in the park.
So if you wanted to get Snappy the Snapping Turtles souvenir keychains or something and sell them down there, you need a vending license.
You put vending machines down there?
We do not have vending machines. I don't know. We'd have to, I guess it would depend on where you want to put them and access to
Allow us to make
electricity.
the final call on what we would and wouldn't allow.
Right.
If you make money from your machines, you can
Right.
just put vending machines down in stock. At least people have something to drink.
Right.
Right.
Pack of crackers and cookies or just better, something better than
Bait.
This is just making me wonder about other kinds of businesses that people might wonder about running out of the park, like a dog walking business or a
Well, there's a few different
fitness
groups.
business.
Yeah, there are a couple down there now. There's a guy that does, I think he calls it plank training. This came up a couple weeks ago. He has groups coming, it's like a balance type thing, I believe. I don't really know what it is. That does that now. I mean, that's his business. I don't think he charges them to use our park, but he's bringing these people that obviously pay him as a personal trainer to go down there. I'm sure there's probably professional dog walkers down there.
I mean, the person with one dog is one thing, but somebody who's really operating their business out of the park is just something I never thought about before. So all of a sudden, I'm wondering, what are the implications of that?
Well, Mr. Snipes, you could be run a daycare, and at certain times during the day, you could drive all of the children in your van.
I was thinking of that too.
Load 10, 15, 20
Who's
kids
going to leave
down.
their kids with Mr. Snipes?
That's not really what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to prevent someone going in there and selling food, beverages, novelties. We don't want to turn it into South Street. And that's what we're trying to make sure doesn't happen. And we're trying to find a way to vend certain items, but in an orderly way that the township can control, so that people know we're visiting our park, know that they're getting something that's been vetted by the township. We don't want people going down there who don't have the proper child abuse clearances, don't have the proper criminal background checks. So that's why this needed to be clarified.
And we can decide how many are going to be allowed down there.
Yep.
So someone who could be potentially vending needs a child abuse clearance and a police...
The idea is that they're seen as operating under the township's code of ordinances and the township's park, so we would want to make sure that they have the appropriate clearances. Again, being in the park itself is not what triggers the requirement for the child abuse clearances.
Okay.
That's
Comments or questions? All right, I see a hand for public comments. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes, miss?
I'm not a resident, but I just have some curiosity. Has Falls Township ever considered...
She needs to identify herself.
Oh, sorry. My name is Amanda Coonley. I'm from LevittownNow.com. I was just curious to see if Falls Township had ever thought about opening a snack cart on their own, or some kind of snack shop where the township would be able to gain revenue instead of leasing that business out to someone else and charging them maybe a monthly fee to operate their cart there. I think there's just greater opportunity for revenue if Falls Township ran the snack shop or ran the food business there.
We've had a variety of ideas. One of the issues, if we're going to be selling food, and we ran into this problem at the Pinewood Pool, is number one, obviously we're paying someone to be down there, and it's their salary, there's benefits, there's obviously all the overhead costs that we would have to incur. There's a liability, obviously, that we would have to incur. There's also meeting all the health standards of Bucks County Department of Health, which currently our concession stand that's already there doesn't really meet all the things that you would really need to run a real good concession stand. A lot of the businesses, or a lot of the like the soccer club that uses the concession stand, they bring in a lot of their own stuff. There's a real limit on what they can sell because of the way that facility was built however many years ago. It just doesn't have all the things that the Department of Health says it has to have in terms of, you know, hot water and the sewage, just everything else.
Grease trap.
Grease traps and things. And so this is kind of a step we're taking to see how this works. At some point, maybe, you know, we've talked loosely about maybe kind of doing something with that concession stand and improving it, and then maybe that's something we could do. But again, it's trying to do it so where we're not incurring all the employment costs and health insurance costs and salary costs and that go with hiring somebody to be down there, 8 hours a day.
I mean, you're looking at like, the park. No one's going to go down there and buy a cheesesteak in November.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, you're looking at. I mean, I would,
well,
but you're.
Yeah,
I might.
Mr. Gray might.
Pete Gray would. He's thinking that's a great idea.
You're looking at 10 weeks of,
right.
of business that I think would be a great opportunity for college
He said it first.
students,
Right.
for high school students during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that opportunity should be explored before. I think it's a good opportunity to earn a lot of revenue instead of just because it might seem difficult just kind of passing the job on, someone else. That there's a lot. If the opportunity is taken the right way, I think there's a lot of money to be made there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We had the same idea. The idea of boats rentals of some sort has been kicked around for many years. And when the gentleman that came to us that's renting them out now, had this great idea, we were all for it. Because now you can see exactly what the demand is and how many boats he actually rents and who actually uses it. Before we jump in head first and get into something that really isn't
none of us know much about
working out for us, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other public comment? Okay. See no hands or a motion to close public comment?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. So we'll be looking just to authorize again advertisement for this ordinance.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, another authorization to advertise. This one regarding our records ordinance. Falls Township maintains a list of wreckers who can be called or are called or can be called by the police department if there is an accident, a disabled vehicle. It is a rotating list. The wreckers are called by the county 911 service, or police officers call them and ask for a wrecker, and then the county calls a wrecker. So we don't necessarily know who's going to come, but we know if it's in Falls, it's a certain number of wreckers who have filed with us. They meet a very specific list of qualifications that we have set out. This has been something we've gone back and forth with in terms of adjusting this many times. And there was a loophole that was found by a couple of the wreckers that we need to close. And so that's what this is about. I'll let Ms. Gallagher go into some more detail.
Sure. Mr. Harvey, again, this only applies to wreckers that are on the township's towing list that respond to township jobs. One of the requirements is that the wrecker maintain a storage lot within the township that is at least 10,000 square feet. What this would do would limit the use of any such lot to one licensed tower only, so that not more than one company can be registered with the same lot. If the company wants to come in and be on our tow list, they have to have their own lot that's just used for the storage of these vehicles from the township's tow list.
Okay. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
That's the only change, is that they can only have one tower on one lot.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the only one that we know about right now. Might be another one next year.
Do you know, Mr. Lieutenant Ward, if that's the only, there's only any, or how many of them are sharing lots?
I'm aware of one right now that has basically changed or altered his name to make it look like there's two separate companies, but he's using the same yard, and which threw all the other towers into a fit.
Yeah.
Because now he gets, the way we do it is each record gets 1 day on call. So now he's getting 2 days on call. Essentially, he's the same business. He's changed his name. He's coming from the same place, storing the cars at the same place, but he's getting 2 bites of the apple and everybody else is getting 1.
And they're all upset that they didn't think of it first.
Yes. Well, that's what they were going to be doing next year. They were all going to be doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we're changing it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I have, yeah.
All right. Again, authorizing advertisement. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion to authorize advertisement?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right. Oops. Okay, next item on the agenda. Somebody get Mr. Sullivan ready. He's going to be on here for a couple of these in a row. Okay. Is for the 2013 road improvement program. We had a bid opening, was it last week? July 10th. Yeah, last week. And we have to pause for a second. Mr. Snipes forgot that when there's only 3 of us here and one of us leaves the room, we are not a quorum, so we can't conduct business. So we'll take a short break. Meeting about 9:05. Picking up with item 13, our agenda, authorizing notice of intent to award the bid for the 2013 road improvement program. Mr. Gray, throw this to you.
Township received a letter from Mr. Sullivan from T&M dated July 10th. T&M has reviewed the bids submitted to Falls Township and publicly opened on July 10th, 2013 for the road program. James D. Morrissey is the lowest responsible bidder. The bid base for James D. Morrissey was $4,979,155.39. Alternate one, which was for storm sewer work on Makefield Road, was $300,948.29. Alternate two was for water service work for Pennsylvania American, $159,065. It is recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to James D. Morrissey, Inc. for the total bid cost of $5,439,168.68 for the base bid plus alternates 1 and 2. Falls Township will be reimbursed in full for the cost of alternate 2 by the Pennsylvania American Water Company in accordance with an agreement between Falls Township and the Pennsylvania American Water Company that has been approved by the Falls Township Solicitor. Just to recap, the road program for 2013 does include 9 roads for full-depth road reconstruction. Final awarding of the contract is contingent upon a successful outcome to the required responsible contractor's determination that will be performed by T&M. The Board of Supervisors is asked to consider this notice of intent to award.
Okay. All right. Mr. Sullivan, any comments here? I guess explaining a little bit of what alternate 1 and 2 are?
Alternate 1 is for some required storm sewer work that will be performed on Makefield Road. It's about 1,900 feet of storm sewer. There is some existing storm sewer that has to come out as part of our 2012 and 2013 road programs. We made major improvements along Winding Way West and Kirby Drive, so those pipes will have to be enlarged. we had as an alternate just in case the full depth reconstruction went over budget, but fortunately it did not.
And alternate 2 is work that Pennsylvania American wants us to do while we have the roads open?
Yes. Some water main work, most likely water services, a couple of meter pits and things like that. That scope could increase and decrease as we move along the project, but whatever is spent in that endeavor will be reimbursed to the township in full.
Okay. All right, so I guess if we took a look, $5,439,000. Okay, so we're looking at basically if we take off $159,000 that we're going to get reimbursed roughly, we're looking at a road program of almost $5.3 million. What did we budget, Mr. Gregg?
$5,482,000.
So we're about $200,000 under budget.
That's correct.
Okay, that sounds good. It's always nice. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Snipes?
Mr. Gray, the 9 roads involved in the 2013 road program are what? Which?
Mr. Sullivan?
I can answer that, Mr. Snipes.
Excellent.
Valley Road, Peaceful Drive, Kirby Drive, Hedgerow Drive, Bernard Drive, Rice Drive, Floral Drive, Fletcher Drive, and Walton Drive. Those are the 9 roads scheduled for full depth reconstruction.
Thank you.
After Mark Drive was finished, Mr. Gray really didn't care anymore, so just...
What part of Rice Drive is that?
From Bernard Drive to Anne Marie Drive.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other comments or questions. Don't imagine there's any public comment. Is there a motion then to authorize notice of intent to award for the 2013 road improvement program to James D. Morrissey? Total amount $5,439,168.68.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Item 14 is considered change order for the South Olds Boulevard culvert. Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is what we consider to be a closeout change order. The project is 100% complete. There are 10 items involved in this change order, all things that occurred during the progress of the work. The first item is, as dictated by the Bucks County Conservation District, we had to install additional silt fence along one of the stream banks. And again, Bucks County Conservation District came in and dictated us to install orange safety fencing along existing stream edge to eliminate any potential equipment traffic into the stream. Item 3 is we decided to upgrade all rebar within the poured in place footings to epoxy coated. Epoxy coated rebar is used in water conditions. Item 4 was furnish a 6-inch low noise pump because the contractor was working not just during the day but also overnight. So for a few days and maybe almost a week they had a pump running 24 hours a day while they did work during the day and during the night. Item 5 was to install additional roads controls mandated by the local Fish and Boat Commission warden, a gentleman that appeared at the site several times and gave us a lot of good input and ideas on how to keep the biohabitat in place. Item 6, to preserve the integrity of existing fish habitat in the stream, we actually left in place 2 of the foundation treatments from the old culvert. He thought that if we pulled those out that would cause some problems. So that's an actual deduct from this total change order. Item number 7, to increase safety, perform additional excavation on the east side of the existing culvert. That was because on that side we had to de-energize power lines. As we lifted the culvert in place, the crane was very close to the power lines. So it was a thought that we should excavate that and make that a little bit lower so there would be an additional safety measure. Item number 8, due to that added excavation, we had to install additional structural backfill. Number 9, as a result of the added excavation, we had to do a little more roadway restoration that was in the contract. And item number 10 was determined we should put in about 30 linear feet of additional guide rail to increase the level of safety along the westbound travel lane. All those items came out to a total of $33,793 for a total revised contract amount of $369,966.00.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Yes. Who required us to put this epoxy-coated rebar in there?
I did.
How come it wasn't part of the original design?
Well, there were two options for the original design. One was to have an actual cast-in-place foundation that was just delivered and put on the site, and the other was to do a pour-in-place. If we'd done the cast foundation, we would have had regular rebar, but since we did pour-in-place, we used the epoxy-coated.
And tell me again about this pump. What was the pump for?
Pump was to keep the stream channel dry where they were working.
Why did we have to pay for that?
It was what we would call an unforeseen condition. There was an increase in stream flow during the project. We had to have a larger pump than we anticipated. And
we provided the pump. They didn't have their own pump?
Well, they provided a pump at an extra cost.
So they could do their job?
So they could do their job.
You would think that they would have to pay for that. No? Did we buy the pump, or did we just rent it?
No, it was just rented.
Okay. That's all I have.
No, nothing.
Okay. All right, so we're looking at a change order, the amount of $33,793 to finish off the culvert replacement on South Olds Boulevard. Is there a motion to approve that amount?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Okay, item number 15 is consider authorizing advertisement for a fishing pier at the Falls Township Community Park Lake. We've talked about this quite a bit. You're prepared, Mr. Sullivan, to, plans are ready just to go out and advertise this?
This project should go out to advertise by the end of this week.
Okay, and what's the timetable from there?
Timetable will then be, the bid opening will probably be August 16th, thereabouts. Since the meeting is on the 20th, we will have a recommendation for a notice of intent to award on the August 28th meeting. The 30-day contract review begins the day after that meeting, at which time the second meeting in September 28th. We'll be able to finalize the award or have the manager authorize to finalize the award if the 30-day period has not expired.
Okay.
And we should be able to start in the middle of September.
All right. And how long is it going to take to build the dock?
Probably give them about 60 days.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions? Board members? No? Okay. All right, so the public comment in your hand. Okay, so this is authorized advertisement for the fishing pier at the Township Community Park Lake. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second. Guess I'm the only one.
You guys right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 16. Consider authorizing advertisement for 3 Arches historic building renovations. I guess we'll go to Mr. Sullivan, just give us an idea of what kind of renovations we're looking at.
The historical architect gave us a list of priority items, and this project will consist of the top 5 priority items that she's identified. Roof replacement and any structural repair needed above the framing. Exterior woodwork repair, the soffits, fascias, and rake boards. Exterior window frame repair. Basement door reconstruction. And explore watershed conditions around the foundation to determine if adding copper gutters and leaders would be beneficial. That's more of a study than an actual construction item. Depending on the outcome of that, gutters may be recommended. We'll wait and see what happens with that.
Okay. All right. And I believe we're having a 300th anniversary for that building in October, mid-October, Mr.
Yes,
Gray?
mid-October, yes.
All right, so this would just be authorizing advertisement for those renovations to 3 Arches. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
None.
None.
No?
Mr. Chairman, this bid process would be the same time frame as the fishing pier.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion then to approve the advertisement for the Three Arches building renovations?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 17 is consider resolution to amend the Falls Township fee schedule. Ms. Gallagher, you worked on this?
I did, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This revision to the existing fee schedule would apply to 3 different charges that the township currently charges for permit fees. The first one would be for roofing permits. We're proposing changing that to a flat fee of $75. The second one is sidewalk permits, which we're proposing changing to $50 as a flat fee. And then the third one is applied to permits for, it's a building permit related to the construction of decks. Currently, they are charged based on the estimated cost of the project. We're recommending changing it to a cost at 50 cents per square foot of the proposed project. The reason being for that, depending on what material you're using, could affect the size or the estimated cost of the project without really affecting how much is required on the township's end as far as inspections. And the same goes for the cost of the roofing permits and the sidewalk permits. The other recommendation that we're making is waiving the $50 zoning fee for sidewalks if it's just a straight replacement of an existing sidewalk and the footprint and the square footage of the sidewalk is not changed. We don't think that the zoning fee is necessary for that. And those are the 3 changes that are proposed.
Okay. And this is just for residential, wouldn't apply if, some factory wants to put a new roof on, that this is, not paying $50 or $75, permit
Correct.
fee.
This is strictly residential.
Okay. All right. I know obviously we've had some complaints before about, permit fees from residents and people who come to the meetings. And the fees we're looking at, Mr. Gray worked with the staff here, the administrative staff, to basically get an idea of the amount of time it takes our inspectors to process the paperwork, go out and review, do the work they have to do, how long does it take, and then prorating that over their regular hourly salary, and that's how we come up with an approximation of what it would cost. The township does not make, even currently, the township does not make money on our fees and permits. It actually, we typically end up losing some money in that respect. So hopefully, this is something that, is easier for people to deal with, easier for people that want to do a project at home, and still allows us to sort of, maintain the staffing and the way we operate here. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Snipes?
No, they seem to make sense.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay. Public comment? See one hands or motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Dell?
Prices seem fair. I was curious, you said decks. Will that also include like E.P. Henry paver patios, or is it just decks?
I believe it just applies to decks that are attached to a building, as is defined in the code. The Pennsylvania state law does not require permits for decks that are not attached to a building.
So a paver patio, we don't need to get a permit for a paver patio in this township?
I would defer to Mr. Bennett on that.
Yeah, it would be a
that
driveway. I'm pretty sure you do. I think it counts as a driveway. I mean, it's no
Sullivan?
different than any other kind of driveway. I'd have to kind of look through the entire zoning code
Yeah.
thing here I couldn't give you an answer right now.
Okay.
But-
I'm pretty sure you do, though.
Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to speak on the bridge on South Knowles, but I wanted to ask you a question. It looked really nice when it was done, and they had all that land cleared out, and you could see the creek, and you could see that no one was dumping garbage or shopping carts over the side. Is there any way we can maintain 50 to 100 foot of that, like the way they basically had it done, and not let all the vegetation grow back?
If you want to, yeah.
Probably not.
No?
Simply because we tried to do that in Vermilion Hills. There's an area right near New Falls Road, as you get close to where St. Joe's is.
Yeah.
Where there was a creek that was there, and our guys went through and sort of cleared out a lot of the underbrush. It was just trees, and it looked really nice. And then we got into a lot of trouble with the Bucks County Conservation District. That told us that we were endangering the stream and erosion, all issues, and then we had to sort of replant some stuff and do a lot of remediation work. So that's it's an issue we're dealing with even when it comes to mosquito control. There's an issue in terms of cutting back some vegetation to kind of trying to control mosquitoes, and might be running afoul of conservation district stuff.
I keep asking myself why they exist, but I still haven't come to a conclusion yet. But I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like if you kept it nice, like not just dirt, but I mean, cut down weeds and turf. I mean, solid ground.
Right.
There's no way to do that without affecting.
I don't know. The short answer is I'm not sure, but I'm saying there might be an issue doing that.
Okay.
We can't just go out and start doing it because
It's nice
we
because
tried
nothing
that once.
falls in that culvert or nothing blocks. Like when it's open, you can see it, and the township guys can actually walk down.
Right.
And pull something out without having to, machete their way through 10-foot high thorn bushes. I just thought it might be nice to, even if it's twice a year going in there with a brush hog and just knocking it down.
Yeah,
just
I agree with you, but I don't. We'd probably have to get somebody from the conservation district out, show them what we want to do, and get their sort of.
Could we ask them? Could we have-
Sure, we can certainly set something like that up. A different.
Mr. Harvey, if we can, without a permit, maintain within 50 feet of an outfall, but if we get into a point where we start scratching the ground, then we can get in trouble with the Conservation District and the DEP. So certainly we can do anything as long as we have a proper permit. But if we're just not clearing the ground, but cutting brush down to a certain level, it doesn't really affect the ground surface.
Yeah. Even
That
if you
we
left
can
it a foot, even if you left it a foot tall.
Yeah, that we can probably do.
Okay. Just a thought, because when the bridge was done, and you could look out there and you could see the creek was open and there's no trash or debris. And once stuff gets overgrown, people have a habit of dumping materials there, trash, tires, anything. Once they find something that's overgrown and not maintained, it sort of turns into a dump site. And you'll even notice that across from Lakeview Terrace along the wood line. When our township guys cut that, 2 passes along the curb line, you'll see all the trash lined up along the edge of the woods because people just dump their trash there. And when you don't maintain something, people just automatically assume it's the new dumping ground. So I just thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
No, thanks. Now, I guess I said, the area along Vermilion Hills looked real nice. I thought it was the same kind of situation. It was clear and opened out, and it looked real. And then we got in trouble.
Got a lot of trouble. And paver patios require permits in the township. As far as I know, every district has some kind of impervious surface limitation, and that has to be checked by the zoning officer. And depending on the size of the patio, earth disturbance permits may even be required.
Okay. So what issue we're looking at? Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the issue we're looking at here is the fee schedule, again, making these changes that were outlined by Ms. Gallagher. This would be Resolution 13-17. Any final comments or questions?
No.
If not, is there a motion to approve Resolution 13-17?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, getting toward the end here. Minutes for the June 18th meeting, 2013.
I was not here.
You were not here. So maybe we'll just come back to that next meeting. All right? I'm sure they're excellent minutes, but we'll have to come back to it. Okay, Mr. Dents wasn't here at that meeting, and it takes 3 members of the board, not just 2 of us, even though there's 3 of us here. Moving on to engineer's report. Okay, Mr. Sullivan, we dealt with some issues going on around the township. What highlights do you have from here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Community Park Soccer Field project is now 100% complete. The last of the silt fence was removed, I believe, this morning, and the trench was restored. So, and the little area that was disturbed by that work has been seeded. Penn's Grand tennis courts have been complete. This will probably be the last time I mention that. Seems to be well used from what we understand.
Yep, they're very nice.
Senior Center, the paving of the parking lot is going to be completed this week, along with striping and signage. General landscaping activities will be completed in the fall. It appears that we'll be able to issue a temporary certificate of occupancy within the next week or so for the building. The transformer and some other electrical work will be completed in September when PECO is going to deliver the transformer. So we'll get all that work done and actually completely finish the project. The 2012 road program is moving along. All storm sewer is complete, installed, except for Winding Way West. We expect that work to be completed within the next week or so, at which time they will then start working on curb sidewalk aprons, and then put that road under binder before they move on to any of the other streets. The only other two streets that have to be finished in that way are Midway and Louise Drive. Mark Drive, Rita Drive, Paul Road, Hedge Road Drive, and the other half of Louise Drive is all under binder. Once all the work is complete and binder is complete, then they will do the final paving. I've been assured by General Asphalt, and I've received their commitment and told them that they had to stick to this particular milestone to finish this project by August 30th, about 6 weeks. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, comments or questions regarding the engineering report?
None.
So Winding Way West, it seems like it's been at a standstill for quite some time.
It's been a challenge. There were some changes made in the field and things that slowed down the project, but everything is ready to go at this point. And like
So
I
it's
said,
going to start moving along now?
yeah,
You'll start seeing
they've
some
almost
activity over
completed.
there?
Yeah, everything should be fine. Barring any terrible weather conditions, rain only. They'll be working through this heat wave.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the engineering report, which is dated July 12th, 2013?
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, bill list. The bills this month in the amount of $2,557,588.58. Of that, $2.5 million, about half of it is payroll and health insurance. There's also $64,000, almost $65,000 for an asphalt machine for Public Works. $84,000 for the senior center. $500,000 for the road program. Also $98,000 is for Falls Township Fire Company for reimbursement for new radios. The FCC, I guess it is requiring that all emergency responders update their radios. Our fire companies have been excellent at finding grants that have gotten them radios at a cost much less than what we were projecting. And so we're thankful for their work in finding those grants, and they've got the radios, and we're reimbursing them for the amount of money they spent. So we still have to buy for the police department.
Police Department, Fire Marshal's Office, and Fairless Hills Fire Company will also be submitting requests.
Okay. So still money to spend, but it's coming in less than we thought so far, knock wood. And again, about I think it was about $17,000 in fuel for township vehicles. So again, grand total $2,557,588.58. Comments or questions from board members?
None.
No.
No? Okay, public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion then to pay the bills July 16th, 2013?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Okay, we do have an issue for executive session. I'm wondering if we should just do you have a couple things for manager comment, Mr. Gray?
2 items.
We want to let's just do those, and we'll just, when we
Sure.
come back, we'll just have board comment. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The township received requests for release of cash escrows for several projects. These escrows have been reviewed by the engineer's office. All final inspections have been completed and are ready for release. They include John Fair, $17,546.19. Sprint, 65 MY Lane, $628. Sprint 207 Austin Drive, $857. Area, 131 Lincoln Highway, $2,991.24. And 25 East Post Road, $4,399.18. The board is asked to consider these escrow releases.
Okay. Comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion then to pay all the cash escrows listed in the July 12th, 2013 memo from Mr. Gray?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Just a few announcements from the Park and Rec Department. Starting yesterday, July 15th, Pinewood Pool memberships cost began half price. You can register online, and the prices should be ready to go in the system, so feel free to register online. Pinewood Pool has several special events. The Teen Splash Dance will be held on Thursday, July 18th, and Thursday, August 15th. Both dates, the times are 7:45 to 10 p.m. for teens ages 11 to 16. Cost is $3 per person. Family movie nights will be held Saturday, July 20th, 27th, and August 10th, starting at 8:30. Senior Citizen Breakfast will be held Saturday, August 17th, from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This event is free for all senior citizens ages 55 and older, for either pool members and/or Falls Township residents. Also offered at the pool, swimming lessons for children ages 6 months up to advanced levels, plus Zumba classes for anyone starting at age 12 and up. For information on these activities or other events, please call the Park and Rec Department at 215-949-9000, extension 220, 221, or 222. And also, just a reminder, Hugo Tech Mylars are ready for signature. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take a break for our executive session. We'll come back and board comment and adjournment. Thank you. Back to order, a little after 10 o'clock. Mr. Clark, if it's not too much trouble, could you give us a summary of our executive session?
It certainly is not any trouble, Mr. Chairman. The board held an executive session. They discussed a matter of litigation, a matter of potential litigation, and several personnel items.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're up to board comment this evening. Mr. Dents, any comments?
No comments tonight.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for an excellent meeting. 23 items. We got through it in record time. Some good things we did tonight. I did want to make a comment. During public comment, there was someone who spoke, I don't need to mention any names, who mentioned, I believe, something about gays, mentioned something about Muslims, and something about Christians. And I just wanted to be clear that the Board of Supervisors is not sanctioning these kinds of comments. I mean, people obviously have the right to come and speak, but you know, we live in a country ruled by a constitution that gives us equal rights and equal protections, and that's what I think this board stands for. So I just wanted to make a statement that personally discriminatory statements or statements about other people's lifestyles or religions, I think, are inappropriate for these meetings. I can't stop when someone's saying it. If that's their opinion, but I certainly can voice my concern that we treat each other fairly and decently and accepting in a community like this. I think that's what makes it a good place to live. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you.
And thank you for running a good meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Obviously, we're in the middle of a heat wave, and what we'd ask, being a good citizen of a community, obviously we work together. We talked earlier about seeing properties in our area that might be in disrepair and reporting that. Obviously, if you see crime happening, you report that. But we need to look out for each other. In you know, with the kind of heat we're experiencing now, and we're not going to meet again until mid-August, and there's probably a good chance we'll have more heat before we get to that meeting. Obviously, be smart about working outside. Keep yourself hydrated. Look after your neighbors. You know, people that are especially elderly who might have difficulty, you know, in bad situations like this with all this kind of heat. And keep yourself as cool as you can, and keep everybody safe. We had a tragedy last night, you know, involving an individual on a motorcycle, and so I think it's important just for people drive safe. Motorcycle riders fought for years and years and years for the ability to not wear helmets, and obviously, you know, it's not wearing a helmet sort of implies that hopefully that you'd be a little bit safer as you're riding a motorcycle or any vehicle. Obviously, a lot of kids out playing this time of year, you know, walking the streets, and we want to make sure we get through the summertime in good shape, and ask everybody to be safe when they're outside. Wish I guess a belated 4th of July, happy 4th to everybody, and thank the board members for being here, and the professionals as well. We did a lot of good work, as Mr. Snipes said, and I thank everybody for their support and all the efforts they put into putting this agenda together and making everything happen. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.